Hey guys, brevity is going to be the key today. We're going to try and summarize this in a very quick sort of way for you. But Carrie and I were talking a lot about Stoicism over the weekend, and we started talking about that very kind of Zen sentence we're all familiar with, that if a tree fell in the woods and no one was there, would it make a sound? Right. And how that actually is a great metaphor for a lot of things. And for us, it always makes us think about the whole reality of having a Stoic philosophy in life. And so here's my take on that I really wanted you to sort of chew on today. If there were to be an absolute truth regarding if this life event happened, this is the default emotion that was connected to it automatically. Therefore, it was an absolute truth. I think that we could agree upon the fact that, well, I feel this, therefore it's an absolute truth. Mm-hmm. And the one I was keying on this weekend was death and dying. That if you're watching this video, you probably live somewhere in the developed world, obviously, right? And so for most of us, if not a vast majority of the percentage of people in the developed world, we have attached an emotion, probably due to societal conditioning more than anything else. We've attached an emotion that when a near and dear loved one dies, passes away, that is a situation that requires mourning and the feeling of loss. But that's not an absolute truth, right? Because there are a number of cultures in the world, both current and past, forgotten cultures, forgotten societies that we maybe don't realize are in existence still, and we don't think about on a regular basis. But in a lot of those cultures, past and present, death is considered a celebration. Mm-hmm. It's a moving on to the next world, the spiritual world. It's not a cessation of life. It is another element or realm within life. Right. And in that, it's not accompanied by mourning or loss at all. It's actually quite the opposite. It's celebrated as if almost like a graduation, right? And so because of that, because that truth exists, that some cultures celebrate death in a way that here in Canada, the United States, most of Europe, Australia, etc., we don't look at it that way, right. Then there is no absolute truth as it relates to what we're supposed to experience emotionally at the prospects of someone dying, someone close to us dying. There is no absolute truth that we must feel the emotion of loss and mourning at the time of someone's passing. And yet, we assume, a lot of us assume, that is an absolute truth, and we kind of just automatically feel those emotions without thinking. Yep. And Stoicism is the exact opposite of that, and it kind of goes in line with the tree falling in the woods. Mm-hmm. If we did not actively attach an emotion to any life event, would we actually feel what we think we're supposed to feel? Right. That's an amazingly involved question, but take it out of the realm of death and dying, put it into your daily life as it relates to anything. You step on the scale and you weigh more than you want to or thought you did. Right. I mean, that's one finite example, but there are dozens upon dozens of examples every day of how we attach emotion to things that we think are absolute. Of course we're going to feel upset, negative, angry, jealous, etc. But those are not absolute truths. And the death example is one that provides that framework of there is no absolute truth in emotion of any situation, right? And I mean, this weekend you were talking about a few things from our own lives as related to that, because taking away from the realm of like this obscurity of someone close to you dying, things we've experienced ourselves.
Absolutely. Just before I go into that, I was going to say, it really is unbelievably powerful to think that you truly can control the emotion you choose to attach to something.
Always.
And I think that it's it might sound a little bit out there for someone who doesn't maybe experience being stoic on a regular basis, but there's so much power in being able to control that in yourself. And the one that was coming to my mind as you were talking was after you moved to Montreal. Yeah. Like most of you know our love story by now, right? Yeah. So Brian up to move to Montreal on February 27th, 2010.
Yeah. On a bit of a whim.
On a bit of a whim, and obviously, we were so blessed to finally be together. But after only a few short months of you being in Montreal, you had to go back to Chicago.
For 3 months.
For 3 months.
Yeah.
So, here we were, building our life together. and enjoying every second of it, and so excited for everything that was to come. And then we kind of got smacked with the reality that you needed to go back to Chicago for 3 months for immigration stuff to get that sorted out.
Right.
And it was actually it was 3 months. It was indefinite when you left. When you left, we didn't even know when you were coming back.
August 16th.
Right.
So I'd been here for I'd been in Montreal for 6 months, forging a life and a family with you and your 2 kids, and it was blissful.
Yeah.
And then I was informed by immigration attorney that in order to fulfill finishing becoming an American citizen, I actually had to go back to the United States. And I asked her for how long, and she goes, I don't know.
Right.
We don't know. So on August 16th, I flew from Montreal to Chicago, kissed you goodbye, and said, I don't know exactly when I'll see you next.
Absolutely. And it was, you know, it's a perfect example for the whole concept of Stoicism, because, you know, in common terms, you would, common emotions, you would think that there's a, you know, you're going to be pining over the other person. It's going to be sad.
You have to be a single mom again.
A single mom again. How am I ever going to get through this? You know, all of those emotions could have so easily been attached to it.
Sure.
But we completely opted for a different route of
adventure.
Adventure. And that's the best word to use to describe it. And of course, obviously, we would have rather been together. But the reality is that just wasn't the case at the time. So how could we have best used that time to grow and to flourish in different ways, so that when you came back home, we were on, you know, perhaps a different path, or just, you know, pick up where we left off. And it ended up proving to be like 3 months of like the most amazing growth.
It was an adventure. It was an adventure.
Life by Numbers was filmed in that time.
I filmed Life by Numbers.
I started modeling.
You became a professional model. But it wasn't, I mean, but because outside things kept flying at us.
Right.
I mean, the kids missed me.
Right.
And they were 5 and 7 years old respectively, and confused. Well, he was here, now he's gone, I don't get it. How do you explain to a 5-year-old he has to go back to fulfill immigration? That's not useful. So you had to, I don't want to say deal with it in a bad way, but you had to support them, and they're missing our new family unit.
Finances?
2 households all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Now we had to pay for your house in Montreal, plus a place for me to stay while I was in Chicago, and didn't know how long I was going to be there for. So outside influencers kept coming at us to make it negative, but we kept just being positive about it. We would Skype. Carrie came down every second weekend for a visit, which we didn't know when I left how that was going to be possible.
Not at all.
I filmed Life by Numbers. You became a professional model. We just decided to frame it as part of our story. This is going to be a cool adventure and part of our story. And when we framed it that way, that's the emotions we both held for it.
Absolutely.
Pure and simple. So what would have been a negative, difficult, emotional experience for virtually anybody in the world, because we really do practice Stoicism a great deal, we refused to attach what would be considered absolute truth to the emotion we were supposed to feel, and instead just framed it the way we wanted to frame it. And it ended up being an incredibly awakening, adventurous, and really beautiful part of our relationship.
Absolutely.
To be honest. So
you know, here's the thing, it's a lot easier than you think it is.
It is.
It's you don't have to attach that emotion, and you might not think yourself capable right now of it, but be aware of it, and then let the process begin there.
I couldn't agree more. So Stoicism, there's no absolute truths to the emotions you're supposed to feel. Think about that, and how much power we have on the inside to dictate for ourselves.
Absolutely.
Thanks for watching.